In a quiet Northern California town where violent crime was almost unheard of, something happened during the night that no one reported, no one heard, and no one could later explain. By morning, 3 people were dead, 1 child was missing, and a mystery was born that still refuses to be solved. In April of 1981, the town of Keddie, California, was home to fewer than 100 residents. Nestled in the Sierra Nevada mountains, Keddie was the kind of place where neighbors knew one another and serious crime was almost unheard of. That sense of safety would be shattered overnight. The victims were Sue Sharp, a 36-year-old mother of 5, her 15-year-old son, John Sharp, and John's 17-year-old friend Dana Wingate. What happened to them would become known as the Keddie Cabin Murders, one of California's most disturbing and enduring cold cases. On the evening of April 11, 1981, Sue Sharp and her children were staying in Cabin 28 at the Keddie Resort. Sue had recently moved there after leaving an abusive relationship, hoping for a fresh start. That night, Sue, John, and Dana were last seen inside the cabin. Sue's younger children, Tina, Ricky, and Greg, were also present. By morning, only 2 of them would still be alive inside the cabin. At approximately 7:45 a.m. on April 12th, Sue's 14-year-old daughter Sheila, who had spent the night at a friend's house, returned home. What she discovered inside Cabin 28 was horrifying. Sue Sharp, John Sharp, and Dana Wingate had been violently murdered. The victims were found bound with medical tape and electrical wire. They had been stabbed and beaten. The scene showed signs of a struggle, but no forced entry. Strikingly, Ricky and Greg, ages 10 and 5, were asleep in a nearby bedroom and were completely unharmed. Even more puzzling, Sue's 12-year-old daughter Tina was missing. Despite the brutality of the crime, there were no screams reported by neighbors and no clear explanation for how such violence went unnoticed in such a small community. Local authorities quickly launched an investigation, but from the start, problems emerged. The crime scene was poorly secured. The cabin was not sealed off immediately, allowing potential evidence to be compromised. Some items were reportedly lost or destroyed. Key leads were not pursued aggressively. Investigators initially believed Tina Sharp had been abducted. Her disappearance added urgency to the case, but months passed with no trace of her. Then, in 1984, 3 years later, Tina's skull was discovered nearly 30 miles away in a remote wooded area. The discovery confirmed that she, too, had been murdered. Despite this, no arrests were made. Over the years, several persons of interest emerged. Attention focused on individuals connected to the cabin and the surrounding area, including people who were reportedly in Keddie that night. Some witnesses later claimed statements were ignored or discouraged. Others alleged intimidation and mishandling of information. One suspect reportedly made incriminating statements years later, but by that time, crucial evidence had already been lost. Another potential suspect died before charges could ever be filed. None of these leads resulted in a prosecution. How did such a violent crime occur without waking the children nearby? Why was Tina taken from the cabin, only to be killed elsewhere? Why were early investigative missteps never formally addressed? Perhaps most troubling is the question of whether the case could have been solved if it had been handled differently in those first critical days. In 2013, authorities acknowledged that earlier conclusions may have been wrong, quietly reopening parts of the investigation. Still, no formal resolution followed. No clear motive has ever been established. Robbery was unlikely. Personal conflict was suspected but never proven. What remains is a painful example of how violence, combined with investigative failure, can deny justice for decades. For the Sharp family and for the town of Keddie, the case is not just unsolved, it is unresolved. It represents lives interrupted, answers withheld, and trust broken. Today, the Keddie Cabin murders remain officially unsolved. Cabin 28 has since been demolished, but the memory of what happened there continues to haunt those who know the story. More than 40 years later, the questions remain, waiting for someone to finally uncover the truth. What do you believe really happened in Cabin 28? And do you think this case will ever be solved? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments. The discussion keeps these stories from being forgotten.